Jeter responded to Skip's comments about how surprised he is by Jeter's numbers so far this season. Here's exactly what Jeter had to say. Quote, "What do you want me to say? I ain't getting involved in this, man. You can say whatever you want now. There's no repercussions. That's the unfortunate thing. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you have people that anytime you bring something like this to light with guys that are doing things, it's like now you have everybody questioning everything. That's the unfortunate thing. Maybe Skip should be tested." What's your reaction?
First of all, Stephen A., I would test positive only for Diet Mountain Dew. But now let's get serious. You are a huge Derek Jeter fan. I am a huge Derek Jeter fan also. So allow me, Stephen A., to repeat what I said yesterday. I have no knowledge of Derek Jeter thinking about or using any PED. I am not accusing him of using any PED. I'm not insinuating he has used any PED. But I told you yesterday, I must admit, I have wondered, even about the great Derek Jeter having the bounce-back season that he's having at age 38, because I wonder about every baseball player who has a huge bounce-back season. See Melky Cabrera, see Bartolo Colon. I wonder about the sport of baseball, not just about Derek Jeter, Stephen A. I'm suspicious of a sport that everybody from Victor Conti to several team executives are now saying is again rampant with PED use. So let's go back to 2010, Stephen A., and you know it as well as I do. Derek Jeter was struggling. He hit a career low 270. All I heard on this show from many baseball insiders, oh, he's lost bat speed. He can no longer get the ball out of the infield. His body is breaking down. He's lost range at shortstop. So all of a sudden, as he turns 38, going on 39, Derek Jeter is having an MVP caliber year, Stephen A. In the 5th month of a 6-month-long baseball season, he is on fire. And all I know for sure, Stephen A., is that the sport of baseball still does not blood test for HGH. Still does not blood test during the baseball season, only once in spring training, but not during the season for HGH. So I wondered out loud to you yesterday. I said to you, if I were an aging former great baseball player and I felt my body breaking down as I went on 39 years of age, would I think about using HGH? Yes, I would. And I feel like I have high character. But Stephen A., I have a number of friends in my age range, and I'm much older than 38 or 39, whose doctors, their wellness doctors, have prescribed using HGH because it works. It aids in recovery. It aids in rejuvenation. It aids in age beating. And big picture, Stephen A., you jumped on me yesterday. You said, come on, Derek Jeter hasn't increased his power numbers. What is he? He's now up to, what, 13 home runs to 6 last year? That's not the issue. I'm talking about recovery. I'm talking about beating father time, rejuvenating your body, getting your quickness back, getting your hand speed back. That's HGH. So, bottom line, do I seriously doubt that Derek Jeter has even considered using HGH? I seriously doubt it. I would be shocked at that. But have I wondered about it because of this bounce-back season that he's having, this MVP caliber season? Yes, I admit it. I'm sorry, but I have wondered. The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, let me address this situation with a level of seriousness that it deserves. Obviously, I'm a huge Derek Jeter fan, and I reacted the way that I reacted yesterday. I was just having a lot of fun with it and what have you.
Real quick, we started off that topic in a kind of a half-jokey fashion.
Yeah,
we were trash-talking each other because you're a huge Yankee fan. And then it got a little more serious, and then it got really serious at the end of the topic.
Well, listen, it got serious, but I got news for you, Skip Bayless. As ridiculous as I think your assertions are to some degree in terms of being curious about Derek Jeter, let me say that hosting the New York radio show yesterday on 98.7 FM. You got a whole bunch of people out there who agreed with you in terms of justifying that this cause for suspicion, not as it pertains to Derek Jeter directly, but just because of the sport of baseball.
Yes.
After all, there have been 39 individuals suspended over the last 6 years since PED use has been enforced by Major League Baseball. So it's not like you're off your rocker. It's just that we're talking about Derek Jeter here. And we have to think about things in its proper context. Number one, we live in a country where you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. We also live in a society where those that are held in high esteem and high regard, we want to have some inkling of evidence before we sit there and cast even the remote aspersions upon them. And in the case of Derek Jeter, I was making the argument that there's absolutely nothing. We can look at his numbers, but in terms of his power numbers, it's not really that significant. No. I mean, you look at his slugging percentage, it was .388 last year. It's .459 now, not the greatest difference in the world. So I guess what I'm saying to you, when you look at it, yeah, he's batting about .324 now. Last year, he finished at .297. The year before that, he was at .270. The previous 6 years, he was over .300. The point that I'm trying to make, it's not like he was batting .195 and then came out of nowhere and started batting .300. It's not that huge of a discrepancy. When you talk about his home runs last year, it was 6. Now it's 13. It's not that huge of a discrepancy. It's not like he was Derek Jeter and then woke up one day and he was Jose Bautista in Toronto smacking 45 to 50 home runs. That's not the kind of thing that is happening here. You're looking at his age, but you got to remember, Derek Jeter had to work on his swing. He got injured. He had to go back down to Tampa, basically get his swing back and get away from what they were trying to change him into and get back into his old self. And then he finished the year. The second half of the year, he batted over .300 for the New York Yankees. So his performance this year is in line with what his performance was in the second half of last year. I say all of that to say, when we look at those facts, and then we think about who we're talking about, and then we think about whether it's Derek Jeter, whether it's Tim Tebow, whether it's a multitude of individuals in terms of whose character you look at, when there is nothing whatsoever to really point to as a direct assault on them based on what they have done, anybody is going to stand up in arms and say, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Because if you can't have somebody to look at and say, this dude could be a standard bearer, then what does that do to the world of sports? What does that do to the American kid out there that's looking for a role model to aspire to emulate?
Yep, that's fair.
It's not that you were wrong. It's not that you were wrong, Skip, because you're absolutely right when you talk about the specter hovering over the sport of baseball. It's the individual you were talking about. Had you said anybody else,
I did.
Had you said anybody else, I would be looking at it and saying, all right, I'm with you.
Yep.
But Derek Jeter, if nothing else, he's earned the right for us to sit back and say, okay, maybe there was some bottle like Mark McGwire had in his locker, or, something like that, or some positive test, something to lean on. This man has been incredibly impeccable and the epitome of clean for his entire career.
Yep.
That's all I have to say about
that. We're talking about an iconic New York Yankee, arguably the most popular Yankee ever. Can we go that far? He's certainly in the conversation.
No, I don't think so. I think that he is.
He is.
I don't think it's a conversation.
Okay. Well, that's fair, I'm with you on that.
To me, there's Derek Jeter, and then there's everybody else, because everybody else had stuff on a personal level to pick on, whether it was Joe DiMaggio with Marilyn Monroe, whether it was Mickey Mantle with alcohol, the list, Babe Ruth, the list goes on and on. There is nothing to point to about Derek Jeter. I mean, as flawless as a human being can possibly be as a professional athlete.
I am with you, Stephen A., which is why, biggest picture, I felt bad that he got asked about it last night, even though I stand behind what I said yesterday. But Derek himself said something, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he said, when guys get caught in the sport of baseball, then everybody's under suspicion, and you can't help it. I can't help it. It makes me sad. I grew up a much bigger baseball fan than I was a basketball or football fan, and my love wanes for the sport of baseball because now I get to hear day after day that it's still dirty, and I get tired of it.
You know it's a sad day. You know it's a sad day in Major League Baseball when Derek Jeter is being asked about steroids before Mark McGwire.